This is not just a box. It's a piece of the 1980s culture. It's the symbol of the computer world of 30 years ago. It's all that you wanted as a kid, all that you dreamed about. And this is how you saw it, with your passionate child or teenager eyes, in all its glamorous, shining glory. In your opinion, was that introduction written by an AI? The answer is no, it wasn't. I wrote it, but it could have been written by an AI, as my experiment with ChatGPT would prove. Let me share this experience with you, and you'll see how powerful modern AI have become. It's amazing, but it's also scary. It's not clear what the future will bring, good or evil, but it's clear we're looking at it right now. We're looking at the new frontier. I recently asked myself how modern AI technology can help revisiting the past of retro computers and what can it do to kindle retro gaming nostalgia. ChatGPT is obviously good at providing information, context, in-game details, tips and tricks, things like that. It can also generate variants of game scenarios, provide alternative gameplay options, write funny stories, and impersonate characters. And it's no use trying to deny it, it's very good at writing. It's amazing to see what you can get if you fine-tune your query correctly. The more you work on your query, the better results you get. The AI can really do an amazing job if you instruct it just right. Let's see if it could have come up with something like my introduction text. If you prompt ChatGPT, or its underlying GPT-3 technology, to write you an introduction on the topic, Big Box Games in all their glory as the symbol of computer culture in the 1980s, here's the result. Big box games in the 1980s were a symbol of computer culture in the era. There were games that were released in large cardboard boxes with a glossy finish, featuring engaging artwork and colorful designs. Inside, the buyer would find a physical game manual, instruction booklet, and often a poster or other bonus items. Many of the biggest titles of the time, such as Ultima, King's Quest, and Street Fighter, were released in big box format. These games were incredibly popular as they provided a tangible item that could be shared between friends and family. Additionally, the artwork on the boxes was often quite captivating, which helped to draw in even more customers. The big box games of the 1980s were truly the symbol of computer culture in the era and remain beloved to this day. This text is all right. It's accurate, informative, and to the point. But not dramatic or passionate. Not anywhere near enough. Let's try and amend that by adding these criteria in the prompt. This is what we obtain. The 80s saw the rise of the big box games, a symbol of the computer culture revolution and a source of entertainment for many. It was a time of innovation, creativity, and exploration, a time of awe, of excitement, and of joy, a time when computer culture was at its peak. The big box games were the physical representation of this culture. They were large, colorful, and boasted a variety of features and game content. They were the pride and joy of many computer owners and provided an opportunity to explore a world beyond their own. The big box games were the bridge between the physical and digital, allowing people to interact with machines in a new way. It was computer culture at its best. This is very good, but still a little dry. Let's try to bring some warm feelings in. Come on, ChatGPT, I'm sure you're capable of doing that. At last, after a few tries, we come up with something really nice and very close to the expected result. The 1980s were a time of excitement and innovation. It was a time of change, a time when computer culture was blooming and growing. One of the most iconic symbols of this era were the big box games. These large, colorful boxes were a sight to behold, filled with mystery and promise. They were the embodiment of the technological advances of the time, as well as the dreams of so many of the people who embraced them. From the colorful graphics to the thrilling stories to the promise of new worlds and new experiences, these games were a source of joy and passion for so many. They were an integral part of the computer culture of the 1980s, and it is only right that we remember them fondly and with love. Chatting with an AI is extremely interesting. and you can learn pretty much anything about retro stuff. But in the end, it all goes back to information. AI could not really explain to you what it was like to first discover a new game and to enjoy playing it. Or could it? I said to myself, there's something no modern AI could ever do. Bring back authentic feelings and real experiences from the past. Sure, it could explain to you what retro computers and games are and how they work. It could even recreate user experiences based on previous entries, but it's all a question of data and of writing tricks. That's what I thought. But then, after just a few tries, it appears the AI could recreate a near-perfect user experience and reminisce from the past. Again, it's only a matter of fine-tuning. Here was my first entry and its result. Explain how a kid in the 1980s would feel like dreaming about video games. A kid in the 1980s would likely have felt a sense of awe and excitement when dreaming about video games. Video games were a relatively new form of entertainment during the 1980s, and the technology was rapidly advancing. Video game consoles such as the Atari 2600 and Nintendo Entertainment System were incredibly popular and allowed kids to play a variety of games, from basic single-player games to more complex role-playing games. For kids in the 1980s, the possibility of playing such games was limited only by their own imaginations. Dreaming about the possibilities of playing such games was likely an incredibly exciting experience for kids. Not bad. But again, a little dry. Let's try a more personal style. You are a kid in the 1980s. Tell me how you dream about buying a video game you're passionate about. Describe how it was like actually buying it, and then your experience playing the game. My dream of buying the video game I was passionate about was like a long and winding journey. I knew that I had to save up to get it, so I started to look for ways to make a little extra money. I did odd jobs like mowing lawns, walking dogs, and selling lemonade. After months of hard work, I had finally saved enough to buy the game. When I arrived at the store, I was overwhelmed with excitement. I looked at the different games, comparing the graphics and reading the descriptions until I found the one I wanted. I carefully counted out the money and handed it to the cashier, then rushed out the store with my new game in hand. I was so eager to get home and begin playing that I almost ran the whole way. Once I got home, I opened the box and hooked up the game console. I paused for a moment and just stared at the screen. Then I inserted the cartridge, grabbed the controller, and began to play. This is so good. It really feels like real. In fact, it almost exactly reflects my own personal experience. The one I told you about in a past video on this channel about the Sega Master System console, a video that I released about a year ago. It only lacks the bad surprise I had when I first tried the console, and that you can learn about in the video. You'll find its link in the description. But I'm sure the AI could have imagined that as well, if I'd added the necessary criteria in the prompt. Really impressive. At the same time, AI text-to-image generators like DALL-E or Midjourney can bring you spectacular design with endless variations of whatever you can imagine. You can illustrate any topic you want with psychedelic pictures that no human mind would think of. But however good a virtual image you get, and even if future 3D printers were able to recreate perfect copies of retro stuff, it will never be the real collector thing from the past. It will never be your thing. At least AI won't ever be able to do that. So let's have it. Let's see what an AI-generated script about retro gaming would look like over image of actual retro stuff. It's about big box games, and I let you judge the script quality. Enjoy. Welcome to a trip down memory lane, where we take a look at the nostalgia-inducing world of retro video games and the iconic big boxes that house them. For many of us, these big boxes hold a special place in our childhood memories. They were the first thing we saw on store shelves, and they often gave us a glimpse into the exciting worlds that lay inside. The feeling of opening up a brand new game and seeing the cartridge or disc for the first time was like nothing else. It was a moment of pure excitement and anticipation. But it wasn't just the physical act of opening the box that made these games special. It was the memories we made while playing them. The hours spent trying to complete that one difficult level, or the joy of discovering a hidden secret. For many collectors, these big boxes have become more than just a piece of nostalgia. They are a reminder of a simpler time and a connection to the games and memories that we hold dear. So here's to the big boxes of retro games and all the nostalgia they bring. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like this channel, you might also check out my other one, Age of Ink, dedicated to game books, board games, and all that has ink on paper. See you soon for another retro dream.